How did 1,000-pound sisters star Tammy Slaton's husband, Caleb Willingham, die? Tammy Slaton has always lived her life in public, its victories and its raw edges aired to millions. When her husband, Caleb Willingham, died at just 40 years old, the grief rippled beyond Kentucky and Ohio, beyond TLC, beyond the fandom that had cheered for their love story. It felt intimate and unfair, the kind of loss that leaves a handprint. In the months that followed, one question kept coming back, hushed at first and then spoken out loud: how did Caleb die? The short, factual answer is this: an autopsy later classified his death as natural and attributed it to complications of supermorbid obesity. The report's existence was first reported publicly on February 9, 2024. Multiple outlets summarized its conclusion using that exact medical language. But to stop there would be to miss the human story: who Caleb was, what he meant to Tammy, and why the public conversation about his death matters. If you watched 1,000-pound sisters, you met Caleb when Tammy was in treatment at the Windsor Lane Rehabilitation Center in Gibsonburg, Ohio. Their relationship was a surprise character arc, two people tackling similar demons, recognizing each other in a hallway, and deciding, swiftly, that us was worth rushing toward. They were engaged in October 2022 and married on November 19, 2022, in a small ceremony inside the very place where they'd learned to breathe differently. By the time the world learned Caleb was gone, the date was early July 2023. Tammy confirmed his passing publicly on July 1, writing a heartbreakingly simple tribute, "Rip Sweet Angel," beneath photos of their first holiday season together. At the time, the cause of death had not been shared. The only thing clear was the weight of the loss. Later, Tammy described how the call came in. She was at home, Caleb was still in Ohio. A friend texted to say staff were working on him. 20 minutes after that, another message: he was gone. On the show, Tammy admitted she initially heard it might have been a heart attack during exercise, but, she said, everything was up in the air until the autopsy came back. That uncertainty lasted for months, and it hovered over every episode where the family tried to keep moving. On February 9, 2024, the conclusion became public: natural causes, due to complications of supermorbid obesity. That phrase is blunt. It's also clinical, and in some ways incomplete, because complications can mean a web of stresses on the heart, lungs, liver, and airway, the body working overtime until one system fails and others follow. Press summaries added a few anatomical details reportedly noted by the coroner: structural strain on the heart and lungs consistent with advanced obesity. But the line that matters for most of us is the simple one: his body, already under extraordinary strain, couldn't sustain him any longer. It's important to be precise about the timeline, too. Caleb died on June 30, 2023, the public learned of it on July 1, and the cause wasn't documented publicly until February 9, 2024. That gap is why early articles said the cause was unknown or not released, and later pieces updated to reflect the autopsy. If you remember seeing both versions, you're not misremembering. The record truly changed after the medical findings were reported. The term supermorbid obesity is a classification that usually refers to a body mass index, BMI, above 50. It isn't a value judgment, it's a risk code, one that correlates with higher chances of heart disease, sleep-disordered breathing, respiratory failure, fatty liver disease, and a long list of other complications. That said, numbers alone don't tell a person's story. Plenty of people live at higher weights while fighting like hell for health, tracking fluids, learning new habits, finding the right therapies, celebrating incremental wins. If you've watched 1,000-pound sisters, you've seen how complicated, non-linear, and deeply emotional that fight can be. Caleb's death doesn't cancel his effort. It underscores what the show has always tried to show us through Tammy and Amy: this is a medical condition as much as a behavioral one, shaped by biology, trauma, access to care, environment, and, yes, personal choices, but never only that. When Tammy posted her tribute, it felt unfiltered. The internet can be unkind, but this time the comment sections carried more softness than snark. TLC issued condolences. Entertainment sites carried the news without the winking cruelty that sometimes dogs reality TV obituaries. In the months that followed, Tammy spoke about her grief in fits and starts, tears in a People interview, memories on the show, The candor of someone figuring out how to live inside a room where every object has an echo. If you've loved someone with serious health challenges, you may have recognized the strange way milestones keep happening anyway. The first grocery run, the bed you still make on one side, the text you almost send. Tammy's changes since then, her continued weight loss, the way she talks about love and identity aren't a betrayal of Caleb, they're evidence she's still here. She said as much, that he was her guardian angel, first metaphorically, and then in memory. Those are the medical facts. They matter because clarity matters, rumors fill any vacuum. But the facts don't erase who he was to the people who loved him. They don't negate the poetry he wrote for Tammy, the vows they spoke, the way a rehab hallway became a wedding aisle, the way two people decided to see each other as worthy of a try. They don't erase the effort he made, even when it wasn't enough. Every time a high-profile death is linked to obesity, the discourse tilts toward blame. That helps no one. A more useful direction is pragmatic compassion, acknowledging that severe obesity is a chronic, complex disease, that treatment often requires multidisciplinary care, nutrition, behavioral therapy, medication, bariatric surgery, respiratory and cardiac monitoring, and that relapse and plateaus are part of the curve, not proof of moral failure. If you or someone you love is somewhere on that curve, you already know the hard parts. What Caleb's story can still give is a reminder to take symptoms seriously: shortness of breath, chest pressure, daytime sleepiness, edema, to push for sleep studies, cardiac workups, and medication reviews, to fight for coverage, referrals, and second opinions, to see success as layered, every pound, every clearer lab value, every staircase climbed. None of that changes the ending we're writing about here. But it might change someone else. It's easy to reduce reality TV figures to two dimensions: the husband, the storyline, the plot twist. What I hope we keep instead is a three-dimensional memory of Caleb, a man who fell in love during the hardest work of his life, a husband whose vows were brief and earnest, a person who understood Tammy's struggle from the inside and tried, in his way, to make a life around that understanding. He did not lose because he died of a disease that fights dirty. He was not a cautionary tale so much as a reminder that love can appear in unlikely places and still be real, and that the bodies we live in can be both the vessels we fight for and the battlegrounds we never asked to step onto.